it has come to my attention that Manila TV Tropes is doing something called what was it? Yeah, the banning invasion reversion thread. Oh, and yes, I have a no damage effective minimalist playthrough of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past going on, and just to showcase. Yeah, Colt's there, and this was swordless as well. In case you're wondering, yeah, did you see it? Did you see? I don't have the sword at the beginning of this, and this. But I digress. So, the the point of this, the aforementioned thread, will be to undo edits by banned users, and, and calling out ban evaders. And they deemed Taylor Swift's cat to be such. Uh, Something tells me that Taylor Swift's cat would have to be a legitimate user regardless. I don't even know what's going on anyway. Uh, Hey, I'm sure the edit history can clear things up. Let's look right into it. Please log in order to use this feature. Excuse me? You know, Vanilla TV Tropes, for a supposedly democratic site, you should disallow a feature that's innately, would no doubt be innately provided on Wikia or Miraheze. What? Why would you prevent unlocked off users from viewing edit histories? I mean, what? I mean, I've heard already that you. I've heard already that you have a history of banning people for grammar errors, and not only that, I've also heard. What was it? Oh yeah, I heard that you don't allow people to join easily and without your approval. Why do you need the common user to need to log in to view edit history? You have become elitist. For all we know, you could be reverting grammar fixes or formatting fixes or whatever. Do not try to censor us. Uh, Majority edited are all illegitimate. Oh wait, there's 550 edits to the Final Fantasy X2 page. Uh, well, let's see what we could look into. I'm thinking characters Final Fantasy V because I'm familiar with Final Fantasy V. Not incredibly so, but I should enough that I should be able to get around. Let's look into it. History. Edit by ELWYN Jedi. Eowyn Jedi. Continuing to revert / fix edits. Another one on December 27. Looks like you're removing stuff. Starting to revert things from Taylor Swift hitting up walkthrough and getting rid of that edit. Yeah, I'll be the judge of that. Another one by Eowyn Jedi, December 20. But it says nothing about. Yeah, stuff, but it says nothing about. But, yeah, it says nothing about reverting any edits. Yeah, let's go into what the two edits that would have been reversions. The little line, flanderization. It says something that Square Enix tried to make their best, tried their best to make the city a character match their counterparts, only fudging it for Furion, who lacked any personality. But Fox was made into a complete moron, which is probably the main thing Five did display, so they flanderized it. That's fine. That was fine. That line was fine. Deleted line, slapdick. In the Game Boy Advance version, right before the party strips out their wet clothes in the ship graveyard, leading to the reveal of Varys' womanhood, Bart pulls the fish out of his shorts. Hmm. I'm not sure that happens, but if it, my memory's fuzzy though, so I'm sure it was an adult joke that flew past me. So, deleted line, change line, actually deleted. Action girl. Krilla has more mates, he said, so you might as well make her your second character while letting Ferris be the second melee fighter. I have no doubt this is under Ferris. This was under Ferris's folder. Let's keep in mind. Yes, it would be under Ferris's folder. It was line 139, line 140. Deleted line 150. It has a boy and his ex. So her pirate ship is steered by a giant sea monster. Yep, it's a Final Fantasy game, alright. And yeah, I do remember about the giant sea monster. Her name was Sildra, and she would carry the boat around without need for the wind, which was a plot point, because the wind crystal shatters early, and the heroes need a ship that doesn't rely on wind to move around, and they got it one courtesy of Ferret and Sildra. But yeah, deleted line 157. Getting Getting stuck past the radar. If you visit too early, Ferris crashes in the tavern. The barkeep mentions that the pirate cleaned out his stuff, and you have the option to check in on him. And what follows is a cheap gag with Barts and Gallop ogling the captain in bed, and Leonard the men to know what's come over them. What's funny is that neither thinks twice about openly lusting over someone they think is a man. They didn't put much thought into this besides, well, the heterosexual man think the other guy's smoking hot. Since it's a 20-year-old game made in Japan. Yeah, it's Japan humor. Is that why Final Fantasy V didn't make Overshore, by the way? Whatever. Deleted line, the need for me. Wait. Final Fantasy VI didn't censor Edgar only Fighetto. I'm getting off topic. Deleted line 165. The need for meat. If you make a detour to Tool in the beginning, Ferris and her men pile out of the ship and dash into the nearest pub. In the PlayStation 1 version, they cry, rum, rum. In the fan translation, they want beer. In the GBA version, they want grog. Legitimate. Sweet Polly Oliver. She rose up the ranks and intimidated others by pretending to be a man. In the analogy translation, this was a line change. The original was, Ferris was raised as a man since about 5 years old, as pirates in this world aren't very progressive about women. She's outed when Gallop and Barts try to get her to dry her clothes over the fire. Taylorswiftscat would have changed it to, she rose up the ranks and intimidated others by pretending to be a man. In the anthology translation, she hints that pirates aren't the most progressive folk around, as opposed to a female pirate being laughed at. That's the fan translation. Or the discomfort of being the only girl on a pirate ship, the Game Boy Advance version. Yeah, that was actually legitimate. That clarifies about Ferris's floating excuse. It stands out. Why remove that? Change lines. Oh wow, a formatting error that the vanilla TV Tropes just created. Talk like a pirate originally was incompetently spaced. This had used the enter key twice. This doesn't use Taylor Swift changed it, changed the formatting to correct it. What? Good job, Vanilla TV Tropes. You vandalized your own articles. You haven't vandalized your own articles. You gotta ban yourself now! It's against the rules to mess with the formatting! Oh my god! I don't believe this. Moving on! Deleted line. Tsundere. The game doesn't try very hard to hide the plot twist, what with the foreshadowing of the canal enemies hitting Farah and Lynn, Ferris and Lynn and exclusively, or Bart and Gallop lusting after her and whatnot. At any rate, this is the first time one of the group opens up to the rest, and after this, she kind of drops her pirate act in the Game Boy Advance version and talks like a human being. Unless you're playing the anthology version, get used to pirate bears, folks. I want to say that's legitimate, given what a tsundere is. Next edit. Change line 489. The line was originally unspecialized fighters who can equip any armor or weapon. This is the starting job of the game. This is clearly referring to the freelancer job. Taylorswiftscat changed it to the base job of the game. All the characters start out at one. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's actually terse. Taylorswiftscat. Change lines. Any frustration feature was removed. And it had 2 points. For mastering a job, they get all of its innate abilities apart from Berserker Undead. For practical reasons, yeah, Berserker takes away control from the player. Undead, it makes you take damage from standard healing. Even though it seems like Berserk should be an innate ability of the Berserker job. Yeah, and I believe it was from the Necromancer added in the Game Boy Advance version. Stat bonuses don't stack. If you master the Black Mage, then that freelancer will have the same magic power as a Black Mage. If you master the Summoner, it will switch to the magic power of a Summoner, since the Summoner has more. Conversely, stat bonuses carry over, but stat penalties do not. There is no drawback to mastering jobs, apart from the time investment. This is true. This is true. Next is Badass Normal, which was significantly which Taylorswiftscat made significantly longer. It originally said they don't earn any ability points and have no abilities of their own besides attack and defend. Yeah, not much to say. And Taylorswiftscat expanded it. In the beginning, they don't have any superpowers. They're an average Joe with no specialized skills and not a whole lot of gear. Only HP and MP increase when they gain levels. Playing as them has the odd effect of removing ability points from the game. Freelancers will never earn a single ability point. The printout won't appear at the end of battles. Despite the seeming handicap, they do well enough. That they do. Speciation, and this actually got fixed up. It originally said each character has slightly different starting stats. Bart is slightly stronger than the rest. Gallop is stuttered. Levin is best at magic. And Barras is good in speed and strength. And Chili is the fastest. What? What? Yeah. Yeah, this is why Taylorswiftscat edited the entry because the character stat gains apply across all classes. Like, what were you thinking with the parting there? Bart is slightly stronger than the rest. That would belong in its own folder, not in the entry for freelancers. And let's go into what Taylorswiftscat has to say. Their stats are exactly what you would expect. Totally average. Their base number for all stats is 24, which is modified by each character's job, along with a slight bonus for each of the 4. For example, Bart gets an extra +4 strength and +3 vitality. He is best suited for dishing out and taking punishment. Yeah. Yeah, I think classification is only listed because freelancer is so middle of the road. Besides from, well, you'll see. But and Grunt's character, it looked like it was removed, but it wasn't. It was messed up earlier. Grunt's character, they actually have pretty good defense. You don't mention about freelancers becoming worse without job mastery as the game goes on. Sure. So they changed things. Freelancers have great defense at the start, but they're still shaky in terms of actual HP. And the warm-up boss, Garula, fortunately, is super easy for freelancers. Not only do they have access to rods, which you cast high-level magic when broken in battle, they can take a trip to Tycoon and find cool weapons that no other job can use at that point. Huh, interesting. Early game, heck. The early game can be a pain for freelancers. Knights and monks, they are not. Mediocre stats and no abilities. Mm, Master that's what and they become a juggernaut due to all the skill and stand-ups. It originally said at the start of the game, freelancers can only attack and defend and nothing else. Yeah, not much detail there. Gathering steam looked like it was removed, but no, it wasn't. Hmm. Gathering steam originally had freelancers gain the passive abilities of any mastered job. By the final dungeon, they're liable to have several powerful stat boosts and can equip any two abilities from whatever job they learned it from, and don't carry the statistical penalties they come with being assigned a specific job. This got changed to be less confusing. Even with an arsenal of gear from three worlds, they can't touch the knight or monk, let alone the water, fire, and earth jobs. The real problem is their stats and inability to boost damage, which limit their chance of hitting anything. Missing over and over again with Excalibur is not fun. They need the master jobs to be competitive. The freelancer and mine inherit the stat bonuses from any job they master. If Galef, say, masters the monk, the freelancer will have higher HP than normal. And Master of All was actually added by Taylorswiftscat. Matter of all, they whip into shape at the end of the game. A freelancer will learn the innate abilities of any master job. The skills of those in jobs that automatically use them for free. Mm, I think the grammar's a little sketchy there, but it happens, and when you go into details, sometimes I have it happen to me at times. The monk is the counter passive ability. So if Caliph masters monk, then his freelance will use counter without wasting an ability slot. Freelancers also earn stat boosts when a job is mastered. Those vary depending on the job. So yeah, I agree. Freelancers are master of all. And multi-melee master was actually there already, but Taylorswiftscat goes into more detail. Freelancers can equip every type of equipment. Taylorswiftscat changes it to this class can equip any piece of equipment. Nothing. For example, knights acquire great weapons late in the game, but since AB ability point investment in knights gets you a little in return, you can opt out for a freelancer with those same weapons. Yep. And we had the knight description. It was originally valiant warriors who protected allies low on HP. Not much detail. That isn't exactly selling knights. Taylorswiftscat changed to defenders of justice, protectors of the innocent, the quintessential good guy, and a master swordsman, charging in the battle in gleaming heavy armor. They provide some muscle in the early game, as well as some nice equipment option. That they do. And more line changes. Boring but practical was already there. It was originally, knight abilities aren't very flashy. However, being able to boost power with two-handed blocks all damage, um, block all damage with guard, and otherwise have a high chance of blocking with a shield makes them difficult to kill. Taylorswiftscat changed it to have a dedicated knight with two-handed weapon, and they will never be able to change jobs at once. Even with full power, the damage from the Brave Blade is a bit underwhelming. With two-handed though, the Brave Blade starts with an attack of 300, and that's a lot! Yeah, it is a lot. Brave Blade's one of the strongest weapons when you don't run away ever. Yeah, 150 base might. So yeah. I mean, granted, it has to compete with the chicken knife directly, and the chicken knife benefits from the stat usage bug it has that knives have. But still, There are a few boss fights where a monk can combine counter with guard to ensure victory. Mm-mm. Yeah, that's happened in Final Fantasy IV DS actually, with because uh, because people would use the Paladin Cecil's little setup. But yeah, and finally, equip shield on a job which usually doesn't do anything with its free hand. Equip armor on a job which could use the higher defense. Equip sword on a job which typically has to make do with weaker weapons. Mm, yeah, goes without saying. Mm, You're saying this is walkthrough mode. That's an excuse. This is common sense. Like this crippling over specialization, which was removed, which Taylorswiftscat added. A number of monsters have a nasty response prepared when hit with weapons. Since the knight never uses anything but swords, this leaves them wide open to counterattacks in some places. The worst example being the Great Sea Trench. The reliance on sword play makes them susceptible to enemies that can buff their own defense. Yeah. Hmm. Ah, interesting. Next is critical staff buff, which was not added, which it was already there. It was originally when other characters are in critical health, a knight will automatically intercept the attacks with their passive cover ability. It's changed to guard is only useful when cover kicks in, i.e., when your party members are at critical health. A little sketchy, man. I, hey, it's a little. Does at least add some detail. Crutch character. Mm, Knights are useful in the early game to deal reliable damage and cover for the squishy or mage classes when they get in trouble. It says nothing about Knight's late game. Taylor Taylorswiftscat comes to the rescue with this. Knights have solid strength and stamina, but they're not used the great. They're not the greatest, and they're only so it's in freelance fodder. There's little reason to keep a knight around beyond learning two-handed, but they have some nice uses. Using guard and cover to neuter melee attacks being the main one. And yeah, when considering their main enemy as a mage, considering the hero's main enemy as a mage, crystal weapon. Ice Brand's blade is supposed to be a block of ice. Yeah, that's what Taylor Swift's cat edited. More of the stuff Taylor Swift cat edits actually. Defend command. Card nullifies all melee damage until their next turn. Yep. Straw aggro. Brave warriors who will shield weakened allies from melee damage. Elaborate equals effective. Night swords. They are noticeably stronger than other heavy armor characters since their swords can be swapped around for elemental might. Yep. Yeah, elemental might is why mages become powerful. Elite tweak. Blue magic is useful. Goblin Punch allows the knight to take their mirror, making them a more effective tank and slash cover character. Which, that's the sort of thing that gets made use of in Final Fantasy IV DS, actually. Have Cecil take the back while using his tankiness do a lot of thinking and white wind covers their healing needs. Blue magic has a way to deal damage, debuff, and inflict status ailments when a sword swing isn't that useful. And also, rapid fire is good on anything, but it really shines on a knight with the blood sword. Bone meal only makes for an internally seen Dark Knight, but renders them unstoppable. Crazy high defense coupled with a constant drain effect from the sword. The only thing the setup has to fear is red dragons. They are custom tailored to foliage. I don't know what's going on with red dragons or the bone meal setup, but I'll take your word for it. Excalibur. The Night Sword Excalibur is among the legendary weapons, of course. Flaming Sword. Flame Tongue is always on fire once it's unsheathed. Healing Shift. When combined with a Flame Ring or Flame Shield, the knight can whack themselves or others with a Flame Tongue for huge health restoration. Yep. kill streak. They can claim the brave blade at the start of the brave blade at the opposite of the chicken knife. It starts with an attack value of 150 and goes down little. Oh wait, I'm looking at the change signs. Yeah, oh, Taylorswiftscat added these anyway. They claim the brave blade at the start. Yeah, I already read this. Knight in shining armor. Why wasn't this there before? Whatever. Knights are solid throughout the whole game, though expensive when keeping their gear up to date. But money isn't a problem in this game. Knightly sword and shield. The knight is unique in that they carry knight swords. Only freelancers in the late game Gladiator, which by the way is Game Boy Advance exclusive, can do the same. They also have shields for added durability. Compared to the original, although several shops use swords, knights have a specific type called a knight sword, which only they, freelancers and gladiators wield. They also grant the equipped shield ability. Yeah, equipped shield is what's walkthrough mode. You idiots at vanilla TV Tropes. Life drain was added. The blood sword. All the damage dealt is drained by the user, unless used on the undead, of course. As we know how the undead treats healing or drainage spells. Long range fighters. The blood sword counts as a magical attack. This means the damage is enhanced by back row. Talk about the blood sword being useful for more than humiliating Final Fantasy II. The original Final Fantasy II, not in Final Fantasy IV. Magic Knight. Magic Knight was not added, but edited. It was originally. There are several elemental knight swords that can turn a knight into one of these. But Taylorswiftscat expanded again. Knight has strength and vitality in space while suffering from lousy magic power. Knight swords, however, are powerful indeed. It includes elemental weapons like the Flame Tongue, Ice Brand, and the Holy Sword Excalibur. The Coral Sword is not Knight exclusive, but the damage is lightning based, giving them another option for monsters that have a weakness. Yeah, capability of Magic Knight, and with better explanation, because there's an actual Magic Knight in the classic game called the Mystic Knight. But Mighty Glacier. Oh my god. You removed. Taylorswiftscat added a lot of entries that got removed. Like, what? Let's see if anything was illegitimate. Because if nothing was illegitimate, then that's damning. That's damning towards vanilla TV Tropes. Mighty Glacier. Knights are very strong and often the slowest character due to the weight of their armor. Yeah. Yeah, knights would rely on armor to get by, but to make use of it. But let's see what Taylorswiftscat used. Second only to the monk in terms of melee damage, many of the best weapons can only be used by the knight and do insane damage when combined with two-handed. Knights are actually faster than a freelancer, but in combat, the weight penalty from their armor causes them to act last. Or, well, maybe. Because the way speed works in the game. Mythology gag. They look similar to Cecil's sprite as a paladin, especially parts as a knight, who looks nearly identical to Cecil's super deformed artwork, but without a cape and slightly different headwear. Not the intended use. As long as the two-handed is set up ahead of time, it will continue to function. This works particularly well when the knight uses the Aegis shield to block X-Death Petrify spell, then drops it for two-handed when Neo X-Death appears. Huh. Aegis spell and X-Death Petrify spell. Oh hey, wait a minute. That's a late game function for the knight. Seriously, walkthrough mode is at best an excuse. It works. It exposes vanilla TV tropes hypocrisy. Next is bone meal refills cure spells, but it causes no problems for a knight, since they can swap in flame tongue and a fire shield at any point, heal themselves with fire, then swap back out on the next turn. So let me get this straight in vanilla TV tropes. You want to censor creativity. You want to censor creativity, vanilla TV tropes. What is this? Equip sword on a blue mage, which is going into a different class, sure, but still. As an added bonus, Brave Blade will always be at 150 attack power for Goblin Punch purposes, no matter how often you run. Wait, you can also be used to give the Blood Sword to a ranged or dragoon. Aim, rapid fire, and jump ensure that this imprecise sword hits every time. Yeah, yeah. So you can't equip sword. Enough said. Powerful but inaccurate. The blood sword has a 25% hit rate. Yeah, it's gotta have a weakness because it was so stupid powerful. It's Final Fantasy too. It's only worth using with abilities that never miss, like aim or rapid fire. And we're back to Fantasy 2. But at least we need more effort with that. Thank God. Because we don't need more of our party members beating themselves up to get stat gains. Shields are useless. Two-handed. Swords, katanas, and axes can all benefit from the double damage. In fact, for classes that use them, it's often better than dual wielding. Gripping one weapon in two hands means that they don't have to buy twice as many weapons, or make do with an inferior one in the other hand. Brave Blade, enough said, yep. Characters generally don't want to swap away extra damage for shield, partly because early game shields aren't worth much. Only late game shields make a difference, at which point they probably stopped using two-handed a while ago. And we had the situational sword. The Brave Blade has the potential to be one of the strongest weapons. Yeah, the potential. You just have to avoid running away from battles, that's all. But that goes into gameplay style. And useless useful spell. Guard reduces all physical damage the knight takes to 0. It doesn't work against magic, however, and the worst threats in this game are magical. Wait, what? Furthermore, they cannot use the guard attack and use guard at the same time. When Wikia does a fighter does nothing but defend themselves. because that's RP was useless in Final Fantasy 4 DS. Guard isn't all that useful, but there are different places where it can come in handy. Even though I seem to recall low-level playthroughs actually use guard. Just what? And all this is edited out. All this is edited out, especially creative points like this. But hey, we gotta punish. We gotta be lawful stupid and punish whoever we dictate in our witch hunts. Yeah. You know why Reformation is so important? Reformation is important because those people could still contribute to society. In fact, they could even make valid points with their own viewpoints. But when you don't care about Reformation, you're saying they're damned either way, and that does not make things better. That just doesn't. What does vanilla TV tropes care? We gotta do our witch hunts